Right, the Reds, it is the bacon butty. As ever, we have got some bacon, we've got a butty, we've got the newspapers, and we're going to go through them and talk about what's happening in the football world. And all the back pages, all the front pages of the football pullouts are, of course, about the derby yesterday. Start with this one. This is the Mail's pullout. They've gone for Thiago 120, Everton 94. That's completed passes for Liverpool's midfield maestro versus Lampard's entire team. And there is the hilarious stat that Alan played 73 minutes for Everton, attempted 6 passes and completed just 2 of them, both from the kick-off. Amazing stuff that. On the back pages of a few of them, you've got this kind of stuff from Lampard. The referee cost us. There's a lot of debate about that this morning. Lampard fury accuses referee of being biased, etc. He's saying if it was Mo Salah, it would have been a pen, and because it was Everton, it wasn't a pen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole Paul Tompkins article that absolutely dismantles that notion and makes it quite the opposite. In fact, you know, pens are funny things. We feel like we don't get, the lads who play up front for us don't get anywhere near enough decisions in their favour as far as I'm concerned. All the time, that's, you know, game after game after game. Now listen, I always feel a bit, the way they play, I always say this, they back in, they put the body in the way, etc, etc, and they create situations where there's contact. So I've got a little bit of sympathy for referees, but only a little bit. The idea that was some sort of nailed-on penalty that's done the rounds makes no sense to me. You've seen them given. There's a good example of one, for instance, with where they get a couple of seasons back, where Calvert-Lewin does a little bit basically of what Gordon does when he comes across Lovren can't cease to exist, goes down, and the referee gave that one. This one, it's not given. I don't think it is, to be honest. I don't think it is a pen. But if it had been given, I don't think the video assistant referee would have overturned it. So it's in that new grey area that the video assistant referee's created. But honestly, you know, I'm not seeing anyone try and do what they did. You did the pass thing at the start for years now. Like, even Watford under Hodgson this season came with a bit of a plan as to how they were going to play football when they had the ball. And that, to them, listen, they did have a little bit of a plan, and it was all revolving around Gordon. It was the idea of, let's just release Gordon down that channel, have Richarlison get near to him. But that's it. Damari Gray was effectively playing as an auxiliary fullback on the other side. You mentioned there Alan, as he moved from Napoli to do this with his life, for God's sake. Wow. It's so grim. But you know what I mean, if all they've got in the end is one moment to cry about, where, you know, Richarlison should be sent off, they acted the goat all game, part of their plan was acting the goat and playing on the referee, and that's another thing. You can't spend the whole game throwing yourself to the floor, and then when there's one that's a bit marginal, go, well, that's just out of order. The referee's well within his rights to go, well, these have been cheating all match, because that's what they were doing, they were cheating all game.
One blue on Twitter there is saying they should launch a class action against the Premier League if they go down.
Absolutely incredible. Get on this prick from the good wife. Absolutely second to none. Yeah. You launch a class action there, see how you get on.
Yeah, see how you get on. Did enjoy Mark Clattenburg in the Mail as well this morning. We all quite liked Clatzy, didn't we? We always thought you know, it was a bit of a red on the sly, maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's talked about some of the big decisions in the game. He says in the second half, Gordon went down again with Matip challenging him. Everton screamed for a penalty. Atwell got this one right too. There wasn't enough for a spot kick, and playing on was the correct call. Sound? There you go.
That's that done.
That's that done. Platty said no red for Mane. He talks about the Reds had had enough of injured Richarlison, and were quite right to play on. He basically says the Reds did absolutely nothing wrong. So,
but the Reds did do absolutely nothing wrong. If anything, they got drawn into a little bit too much of it. Yeah. But it's easy to say that. We were drawn into it on the stands, and trust me, if I'd have been playing, I'd have been drawn into it. You know, I think second half they come out and they're a lot calmer around this stuff. I think the idea of, you know, he says in there that Gordon's gaining a bit of a reputation for himself. He does it in that game. That's the point. The point here is that, you know, he's been booked for diving. It was his second one at that point that he books him for. There was one before where he flew himself to the deck and the referee didn't give it. So part of why he books him for diving on the second one, I think, is the idea is that basically you just want to sort of say, the referee just wants to say at that point, stop doing that. And then he goes down again later in the game. And yeah, you want to do the whole, you know, well, we've had hard lines or class action lawsuits or whatever. The whole thing about that is referees are part of the game and the flow of the game. He's watched you cheat twice. So if there's one that's a bit marginal, he's probably going to think you've cheated again. The lesson should be don't cheat in the first place.
And they've done a bit of that this season as well.
Yeah.
Quite a few players being booked for diving this season among the Everton numbers.